The real-feel Reptimax Inostrancevia action figure is here. Long ago, in a distant past of a younger world, a terrifying beast once lived when all the continents were one. Something not quite a mammal and not quite a reptile. They all lived in fear of their deadly saber teeth long before the dinosaurs ruled the earth. Beware the powerful Inostrancevia. The king of the Gorgons is now available and ready to slash into your collection. Order yours now at www.reptimax.co.za. Whatever you do, don't let yours escape.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to show you my newest creation, the terrifying giant Gorgonopsian Inostrancevia. However, before we take an in-depth look at this figure, I want to tell you more about this incredible extinct animal. Also, as promised in my previous video on the Tyrannosuchus figure, I want to give you a quick update now that I've had more time to produce more of these giant crocodilomorphs. I'm thrilled to say my molder and caster Erica has outdone herself again. She has further improved the clip-in tail for this figure, so now there's hardly any gap between the base of the tail and torso, so you may not have to glue your tail on when you receive one of these figures to close up that gap. I have also added more detail to the head by painting in between the scales surrounding the mouth. I think this looks much better, especially when compared to the original. If you want to order your own Tyrannosuchus figure, please head on over to my website www.reptimax.co.za. Now back to our new Gorgonopsian. Inostrancevia was a truly remarkable ancient predator. This species lived during the late Permian period in our world's history, living from approximately 259 to 251.9 million years ago, and eventually dying out during the world's largest extinction event, known as the Great Dying. Inostrancevia was a powerful apex predator, and it is believed by many to have been the largest gorgonopsid ever discovered. However, if you've watched my Rubigia video, you will know that Rubigia was very close in size, if not maybe a little bit larger than Inostrancevia, according to Professor Bruce Rubidge.
What is interesting, in recent years, we've always heard that Inostrancevia is the largest Gorgonopsian known. And that is because there's a complete skeleton of Inostrancevia preserved in Russia. We haven't got a complete skeleton of Rubigia, and so we don't know what size it was. But we think it was at least the size of Inostrancevia. The interesting thing about Inostrancevia is it's recently been found in South Africa as well. And it occurs higher in the stratigraphic sequence, higher in the rock record than Rubigia. And so it appears to have lived earlier than Inostrancevia. Rubigia seems to have lived earlier than Inostrancevia. Now, Inostrancevia came in later as an immigrant into southern Africa.
Just like Rubigia, Inostrancevia had serrated saber teeth similar to the much more recent saber-toothed cats, such as Smilodon. Another fantastic case of convergent evolution, where two different groups of animals evolve similar body plans to fulfill a similar role in their ecosystems. Both Inostrancevia and Rubigia belong to the animal family known as the Gorgonopsians, due to their terrifying skulls with those massive saber teeth, they were named after the three monstrous Gorgon sisters from ancient Greek mythology, who could turn you to stone with their terrible gaze. They were synapsids, and despite their reptile-like appearance, Inostrancevia and Rubidia were much more closely related to modern-day mammals than they were to reptiles such as dinosaurs. Inostrancevia was originally found to have lived in what is now Western Russia, but has more recently also been found to have lived here in South Africa. During this time in our world's history, all the continents were joined together as one gigantic landmass known as Pangaea. Many fossils of the same species that were alive at this time can be found across many different continents today, showing us that these ancient animals could freely migrate across the world, so it's likely that we may eventually find more Inostrancevia fossils across the world too. Interestingly, it has been suggested that Inostrancevia may have outcompeted Rubidia and possibly even contributed to Rubidia's extinction here in Africa during the later part of the Permian, since the Inostrancevia fossils discovered here in South Africa are younger than that of Rubidia. Inostrancevia was about the size of a large tiger and likely was an ambush predator like its modern striped relative. They would probably sneak up on unsuspecting prey and wrestle the animal to the ground before delivering a crippling fatal bite to the neck, just like what may have been seen with the more recent saber-toothed cats. It's probably very likely that Inostrancevia, as well as many other gorgonopsids, may have had some sort of camouflage in order to sneak up on their chosen prey and capture them off guard, such as the many beautifully patterned big cats alive today. In this video, I have collaborated with a fellow South African animal lover, Israel Spruch, to show you some living examples of the extraordinary colors and patterns found on our living ambush predators. Israel is a wildlife conservationalist, and he works with many incredible and beautiful animals, and I'm so honored to feature him in this video.
Hi guys, I'm Israel Spruch from Fauna and Flora Connect, and here I'm standing here with this beautiful, beautiful leopard named Nandi. Now, quite interesting, Max Stringer has contacted me and asked me to give a little demonstration on why leopards and tigers have these specific patterns and coloration on them. So if you look around us here in the African savanna, one of the most common colors you'll find is this grass beige-like color. And the rosettes on the leopard in question are unique to each individual leopard. But what also it acts as a way to break up the color of the grass so that it looks like shadows. So when the leopard is hunting its prey or stalking, it'll use the elements of surprise to its advantage, camouflaging in with a background, and the rosettes act as a way to break up the shadows so that you cannot see that there is a leopard in the way. Now tigers have the exact same hunting strategy or adaptation. The only difference is they're bright orange, or not really bright orange, but they're orange. Now the reason for that is most herbivores cannot see the color orange, so it appears as green. And once again, the stripes break up the pattern of that animal, using it as a, should we say, element of surprise. So when an animal's foraging in the forest, or in the jungle, or in the savannah, it cannot see the color orange, and so it just sees green, and the stripes break it up, giving the tiger the elements of surprise when predating. So guys, here we have Tokyo. She is a white Bengal tiger. Now the white gene is actually a mutation. It's called leucism, and it's not very helpful to a tiger's survival or hunting strategies because they're normally orange or brown. Now let me tell you why they are orange and brown and how that helps with their camouflaging and their hunting and their survival pretty much in the wild. So most of the animals they eat, the herbivores they consume, cannot see the color orange or brown. So something to do with inside their cones in their eyes and the lenses, that color just appears green, like a green background. So then the tiger has these amazing adaptations to that, this striping. So what happens with that is the tiger's shape would obviously appear in the herbivore's eyes as green, but it'll still have that tiger, big cat, predator shape. So what does the tiger have to help that? It evolved to develop these awesome, amazing stripes on the body, and that breaks up the pattern of that green tiger predator shape. So when it's sitting in the background of green vegetation and forest, and it's got these stripes, it just acts as shadows from the trees and the grass growing, so it breaks up the pattern of the big predatorial cat stalking the prey. And that gives it the element of surprise and allows it pretty much to hunt. And the antelope not to notice that it is being spied upon and about to be hunted. So how cool is that? This is Tokyo. I'll go, mwah, she's a cute girl, eh? So yeah, something also quite cool is every tiger, just like the leopards, their rosettes and their stripes are individual to that specimen in itself. It's like a fingerprint. So no stripe on no tiger is the same as a stripe on another tiger, or placement. So it's pretty much a way of them being completely unique, their individual way. So yeah, thought you guys would enjoy see something like that. So let's get Tokyo. What? Oh, you're a big girl. You're a big girl. Okay. So remember just to learn things, guys. Remember to learn. Let me get my GoPro before I'm eating. There goes my shoe. So yeah. Ooh. Well, that's the end of that one. Enjoy. Woohoo! Oh, gotta get this. Gotta get this. Before I die. So the tiger has this color of the stripes, literally, Tokyo, literally on the skin underneath all of this fur. So that's quite cool. So I hope you enjoy that. And I'll try to find examples. So Tokyo was in a fight recently, and we had to shave her and stitch her up in places. But there you go. You can see it's literally on the skin. It's not just the fur. There's one of her stitches. But yes, it is on the skin. It's not just on the fur. It is on the skin. It's got a cat by the tail. A big cat by the tail.
Thank you so much, Israel, for taking the time to show us your wonderful cats. I really love the way Tokyo tries to talk. She's definitely quite chatty. As Israel said, these beautiful big cats are perfectly adapted to sneak up on their prey and catch them off guard. Since Inostrancevia probably lived a similar lifestyle to modern-day big cats and filled a very similar role in their ancient ecosystem, I think it could be very likely that Inostrancevia also had some sort of patterning to help it blend in to ambush prey. Now let's take a look at the figure itself in its official packaging. As you can see, my Inostrancevia figure has purple themed packaging just like the black rubidia. When designing the box art for my creations, I thought it could be fun to have a consistent theme for each of our world's eras that these ancient creatures belong to, with all Paleozoic animals having a mysterious purple theme, the Mesozoic having an orangey red palette, and the Cenozoic having a blue vibe. I decided to do this as a way to try and make every era look distinct and separate, hopefully to help break the stigma that most people have when they think that all prehistoric animals lived in the same place and time, kind of what is depicted in the Flintstones and more recent media like Primal. The exception to this, however, would be figures I create for museums like the Karoo Origin Center, or creatures like the Tyrannosuchus, which is not directly based on a real animal, so the color-themed packaging would just be reserved for my mainline Reptimax animals that are scientifically accurate. So if you were to see my figures available in a store, you would know immediately just by the colors which era each creature belonged to. On the front of the packaging, we can see my Reptimax logo on the top left corner. Please note that this is an adult collectible and not suitable for anyone under the age of 15. On the right side, we have a label indicating that this figure is scientifically accurate and has real feel skin. Towards the bottom of the packaging, we have an illustration of the Inostrancevia in full pounce, with the name of this great predator right beside it. On the back, we have a nice big picture of the figure along with its name again. Just below, we have all the other Paleozoic creatures that I plan to make or have made for this line, including the terrifying Ankylosaurus, the giant arthropods Jaekelopterus, Arthropleura, and Hippotoporus, along with the black rubidia, Inostrancevia, and the giant gharial-like amphibians amphibian Prionosuchus, which is the next species to release in this lineup. On the right side we have some information for Inostrancevia. Please note that I've decided to make my figure the African subspecies of Inostrancevia, based on the fossilized material found here in South Africa. Below the text we have my logo again, along with a Made in South Africa label, and a label to indicate that this product is made by hand. No 3D printing or machinery involved. Now let's get the figure out of its packaging. As you can see, we have these clips along the edge which hold the packaging together, just like the Rubigia figure. This allows you to easily remove the figure and repackage it without completely destroying the packaging, which is often more desirable for collectors. I especially don't like having to rip plastic off figures and ruin the beautiful artwork on the box. This way there's no glue involved. Now that we have the Inostrancevia figure in hand, let's talk about its coloration. When designing this figure, there was something which I just couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't stop thinking about all the incredible beauty throughout our world's history that is lost to us, that human eyes never got to see. Say for example, we had only known a tiger or a leopard from its bones and never got to see these animals alive. We would never know how truly beautiful and magnificent they were. The same can also be said for all the reptiles of our world. Can you imagine trying to describe the beauty of an Arizona mountain king snake or a Sinaloan milk snake to someone who had never seen one before? If you were to try and tell someone who had never seen a tiger before that there once was a giant orange cat with stripes all over its body, they would think you're crazy, especially when you consider how unique a tiger's appearance is compared to other cats. This is what it's like for us when we look at fossils of all the ancient animals which are no longer here with us. Amazingly, we do actually know the living colorations of a handful of ancient species, such as the remarkable Sinosauropteryx, with its rusty orangey brown coat and ringed tail. However, this information is a very special exception. Who's to say Utahraptor was not just as beautifully patterned as a leopard, or that the animal we call Spinosaurus had turquoise blue spots on its head and neck? We may never know how truly beautiful they were. For this reason, along with what we have learnt about our similar-sized living ambush predators, I decided to give my Inostrancevia an orangey-red coloration with spots. The orangey-red is inspired by the colors of a tiger, which, as we have learnt from Israel, appear green in certain herbivores' eyes, with the spotted pattern being inspired by a leopard to break up the animal's outline and vegetation. Although when I painted my first few figures, they ended up being a bit more on the red side once they dried. Whenever I make a new figure, it takes me a few attempts to get the colors just right. When you are painting every figure by hand, there's bound to be some variation in the coloration, so it adds to each one being unique. But as I make more, I'll try to go for more of an orangey color. We have a lighter orange eye, which may look like just another spot to a herbivore, and a lighter shade of pink on the belly. As you can see, the Inostrancevia is also anatomically correct. This coloration also reminds me a lot of reptiles, such as the previously mentioned Arizona mountain king snake and the Sinaloan milk snake, which I thought was quite fitting since Inostrancevia and all theraspids as a whole were referred to as mammal-like reptiles for many years, although we now know this term is incorrect and it's actually more accurate in the reverse to say they were reptile-like mammals. We now refer to this group of ancient animals as stem mammals, but I still like that this coloration has a reptile and mammal feel to it. This figure also has a menacing black and grey mouth. The teeth are sharp and the jaw opens really wide and closes fairly well too. Despite what Mattel's Jurassic World Inostrancevia figure shows, the real animal did not have teeth beyond the canines on the lower jaw. So all these teeth back here on the lower jaw are completely inaccurate on Mattel's version. The saber teeth on this version are also way too long. Before we look at the articulation, there's something important I need to announce. We are no longer making deluxe versions of the Rubidia and other Gorgonopsid figures. The way I designed the extra articulation was just not as good as it could be. We also heard back from a few of my customers to say their deluxe version's feet had broken off at the ankle. I've learned a lot from this experience, and I believe I now know how to better improve and make much better joints for future species. But for now at least, I'm just going to be making and selling what was our standard versions. However, they are still pretty cool, and on the plus side, I've found a way to further improve the pricing for the packaging. So the full official packaging is now included within the total amount of buying a figure. The Inostrancevia has movable and posable limbs, neck, and jaw. We've further improved our neck joints to be even stronger so you can move the neck freely. This also goes for the Rubidia figures. The Inostrancevia also is of course cast in rubber, which gives the figure a real feel and hand, just like the classic old Kenner Jurassic Park toys. If you have watched my video on making the Rubidia figure, you will know that this was not my first attempt at making an Inostrancevia figure. Before I had made my Rubidia and was contacted by Marina Rubidge of the Karoo Origin Center, I had already sculpted, molded and cast an Inostrancevia. However, my first go at this species really didn't look too good. As you can see, I had already decided on the coloration I wanted, but lots of other details such as the head, neck, tail and limb joints were really off. It was only after speaking to Bruce and Marina Rubidge and showing them this figure that I realized just how much fixing up this Inostrancevia needed. Thankfully, with their guidance, I was able to sculpt a much more accurate head for this species and include other details I didn't know about, such as the weird third eye on top of its head, which is a trait found across all Gorgonopsids and many living reptiles, amphibians and fish. This bizarre third eye is thought to have mainly been used to recognize shifts in light and could not see a clear vision. I am much happier with this updated final version. I think it's leaps and bounds better than my first attempt, although I'm not too sure what I should do with the original Inostrancevia mold. I have already had everything made and paid for to put this figure into production, but since I went back and updated the original sculpt, there's just no reason to make these guys. Something that I thought about was maybe just giving this first sculpt a different color scheme and a different name, but I just don't think it's really good enough to put out into the world. I don't want to put anything up for sale that I don't believe is my best work, so it's a bit of a tricky situation because I don't want the molds for this figure to go to waste and not be used. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments below. For a size comparison, here is the Inostrancevia figure compared to a 1/18th scale humanoid, which looks just about right, since Inostrancevia was about the size of a large male tiger. To demonstrate this, we have another clip from Israel.
Bengal tigers are really large. Your Siberian tigers, being the largest, can reach up to 420 kgs. That was the biggest one on record. And as you can see here, this is Zigzag. He is an adult male Bengal, and he probably weighs about 350 kgs. But that being said, tigers, when they stand on their back legs, are of the longest big cats. So they can stand over 2.5 meters. That just gives you an idea of how big these animals are. Let's see if we can get Ziggs to get up here for us. So you can just get that idea of how actually huge these animals are. I know, boy, I'll give it to you now. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed that. 1,600 psi bite force, or 1,300 psi bite force going on.
For further comparisons, here is the figure next to my Rubidia figures, the Jurassic World Scutosaurus, which was a species Inostrancevia actually lived alongside and preyed upon in ancient Russia, the Creative Beast Studios Black Smilodon, a Collectae leopard, the ferocious roaring tiger from the Jumanji toy line, my Tyrannosuchus figure, and lastly my Hatzegopteryx figure, which is my next figure to release. I'm so happy with how this figure turned out. The Inostrancevia is a really solid action figure, and I feel so happy being able to honor another prehistoric species that needs more love and appreciation. If you would like to place an order to get your very own Inostrancevia figure, please head over to my website www.reptimax.co.za or check out my video on how to order a figure from me. I want to give a massive Bengal tiger sized thank you to Israel Spruch for taking the time to get such great footage of his big cats for me. Please check him out on YouTube and Instagram. I've also linked him in the description. I also want to thank Carly Lau for presenting this figure and recording this video's intro with me. Thank you so much as always to my wonderful molder and caster Erica for all the work you do for me and for making this lifelong dream of mine come true. Thank you so much to my patron Sam Allred for your continued support. If you'd like to help and support me to grow further, buy new supplies, see my entire artwork portfolio and see more behind the scenes content of what I do, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the Hatzegopteryx figure, which will finally release this month. Also keep an eye out for some new prints which I've made of upcoming figures box artworks, which will be available to order on my website in the next few days. See you all again very soon.